All right, start of the fighting. In 1931, Japan launched a series of attacks against China, and that would eventually capture Korea as well, North Korea at that time. In September 1939, England and France met, and Germany attacked Poland with a declaration of war. Okay, so basically what happened, y'all, is this is what I was talking about in the last video. Germany attacks Poland. Poland has a secret alliance with England and France, and they both go after Germany. But to be honest, when Neville Chamberlain declares war on Germany, he does nothing for like 7 months. So Germany had tons of time to conquer more territory and to further his goals. Hitler had signed a non-aggression pact with Joseph Stalin and did not fear an attack on his eastern front because of that. All right, which reason most directly caused France and Britain to enter World War II? It's going to be Poland. Yes, right here, the German invasion of Poland. Okay. Now, this war is set up with two sides. We have the Axis powers, which is Germany, Italy, and Japan. These are the three countries that got disrespected by the Treaty of Versailles. And we have the Allied powers, which is first only England and France, but later on joined by Russia. And then after Russia, the United States is going to come in after America is attacked at Pearl Harbor by the Japanese because we cut off their oil. All right, once the fighting started, Germany quickly defeated France using a blitzkrieg. See, France had this huge defensive fortification called the Maginot Line that we've talked about in class before. The Maginot Line was this big, thick wall that was built into the mountains in eastern France. And the Germans, they just went over the wall with planes, and they went around the wall with something called the Schlieffen Plan that I'm not really too familiar with, but basically they're going around through the Netherlands and Belgium as well to get into Paris. The fighting is over in 6 weeks, and France is captured, and it's going to be out of commission for the rest of the war until D-Day, pretty much. The Battle of Britain, okay? Now with France defeated, Hitler goes for England. And right at this time, Neville Chamberlain is forced to resign by the British Parliament, and Winston Churchill is elected as the new British Prime Minister. So the Battle of Britain in 1940, Germany seeks to force out England to withdraw from the war, but the Royal Air Force, that's what RAF means, defeats the German Luftwaffe. Radar plays a key role. Okay, so this is a big part of World War II. I'm going to take a few minutes to explain it. Basically, what was going on, y'all, is the British used their fleet to blockade the English Channel so that way the Germans can't actually get across with a land invasion. So the Luftwaffe, which is the German Air Force, they fly over that, destroying all of Britain's Air Force at one time. They destroyed everything on the runways. The planes were still on the runways when they got destroyed. And then they started terror bombing London, the city of London. It was the most populous city in the world at the time. 9 million people lived in London at this time in history. And the only thing that saved them was the fact that it was such a big city that they had a massive subway system that went everywhere in the city. And so there's two things that saved the British population. Radar was a new invention that told the British that the Germans were coming in the air. And then they would all have these air raid sirens that would blast all over London, and people would get down into the subway systems. Of the 9 million people living there, okay, only 40,000 people died. And that is a miracle by any standards that I can count. So, during the Battle of Britain, what helped the English to defeat the German army, military? And that's going to be radar, okay? This is Hitler's first major defeat. It's not going to be his last, okay? All right, American intervention. During this time, the American people in general wanted to follow a strict isolationist policy. They wanted to be by themselves. The Neutrality Acts were passed earlier. This was passed 4 years before the war started. That basically said that no American can go on vacation or travel into any area that's at war at the time. And they also said that weapons could not be sold to any country that's at war. Well, Franklin Roosevelt is going to get this repealed, especially the second part of that act, so that way we can sell weapons to the British and the other allies. FDR knew that the U.S. would eventually enter the war, but obtained changes to the Neutrality Acts to help the allies. He would also set up programs to help supply military equipment with the Lend-Lease Act. And that got us a new nickname. We were giving out $700 billion worth of goods to the Allies over the course of the war. We gave them that much stuff. And that got us the new nickname of the Arsenal of Democracy. All right, let's go to question number 58. In 1935, Congress passed the first of the Neutrality Acts. 4 years later, what caused Franklin Roosevelt to ask Congress to amend those acts? Let's see. He wanted to help fight the Nazis without actually entering the war. That is the correct answer up there at the top. All right, Japanese aggression in the Pacific eventually involved the United States whenever they went after, there was some rumors that they were going after the Philippines, which is a group of about 100 islands that we got during the Spanish-American War, if you remember, from 1898. So, anyway, America establishes a trade embargo. See, we figured out something about the Japanese. They have one supplier of oil, and that supplier is us, okay? And so what we did, whenever they moved towards the Philippines, we cut off their oil supply, which sent their economy into a free fall, and they couldn't move things around anymore. They couldn't ship items anymore because there's no gasoline, you know? And so they basically had to figure out a way to get a new supply of oil before they ran out of oil and gas. And the plan that they came up with was pretty bold. They were going to knock the U.S. Pacific Fleet out of the battle with one large attack on Pearl Harbor, and then after that they were going to go after the Philippines immediately. So that way they can use the Philippines as a launching pad to attack other oil-rich islands in the area. The U.S. also begins to send Lend-Lease to China. Japan knew that she would have control of the Philippines. She would have to control the Pacific as well. And by doing that, Japan wanted to knock out our people at Pearl Harbor. All right, the Atlantic Charter, August 1941, President Roosevelt and Winston Churchill meet together and they agreed to be an alliance. This is the start of the restart, if you will, of the Allies in World War II. Neither country would seek territorial gains, so they both agreed that after this war is over, we're going to let every place that we conquer have their freedom again, pretty much. So trade barriers would be lowered, and this established basis for post-World War II international trade. All people had the right to self-determination, which means the ability to rule yourself, to have your own government, and former colonies would be freed after the war was over. All right, which issue did FDR and Churchill agree upon during the Atlantic Charter discussions in 1941? Let's see. Yeah, Britain's not in a position to do that. Both countries would enforce an oil embargo. No, that didn't happen. Neither country would interfere with the other system of government. That's not true. Neither country would seek territorial gains after the war. Okay, that is the correct answer. So we're not going to go and conquer and make this a war of imperialism. Okay. All right, number 60. Which statement best describes how the Atlantic Charter brought the U.S. closer to entering World War II? Well, it's because they became allies. Let's see. The Atlantic Charter included a promise for direct U.S. action. No, it doesn't. Express. Okay. Here we go. C. Okay. It made the alliance between the U.S. and Britain. Okay, that's the Atlantic Charter for you.